Travis, and welcome to more Plague Inc. Evolved with our official Scenarios Mega Brutal Guide series in the new Aliens and Anti-Vaxxers DLC. And it is finally time to get to that anti-vax. Faith in vaccines is collapsing. Global vaccination campaigns fight to hold the line, but weaponized conspiracies and viral misinformation are infecting the truth. What's the worst that could happen? This scenario is actually a little bit tricky when you first try it out. It's simple enough to understand, but it does take a little bit of practice to figure out. Hopefully what I'm going to show you today will be more consistent. There's going to be a virus type here. We can play with any of the normal diseases, no big deal. ATP boost, Darwinist, oxide extremophile, and symptostasis. By the way, if you're looking for a maximum score kind of an opportunity, things like the nanovirus, for example, would be a much better pick. I'm just going for the virus because it's pretty straightforward to understand. So this is going to be called homeoinfection. I don't care, that's fine. Now you guys might remember with the measles scenario a couple of videos ago where most of the world started off pre-vaccinated against the disease and therefore they were immune to infection. We're going to have something kind of similar here. A percentage of the world is temporarily vaccinated, making them immune to infection, but that faith in vaccines is collapsing. People are going to be skipping out on their booster shots, and over time we're going to have some new abilities unlock where we can start reducing the vaccination rate rather dramatically. Other than that, we play it mostly the same as usual, but here you can see 3.2 billion vaccinated. Over time, you'll see that this number will start going down. Let's go to our symptoms and go with a fairly standard lineup over here, though I am going to be a little bit more aggressive than I normally would be in this scenario with the symptoms, simply because I know that Greenland is not going to be as big of a deal, but you'll see why in just a bit. Without a pandemic on the horizon, the public has become less concerned with disease prevention. Scientists note vaccination rates are naturally failing worldwide, and there you can see the numbers are going down. Too slowly, though. We're going to have to speed that along, and that's where those powers are going to come into play. Anemia mutated for free. Doesn't really matter. Of all the things I could get for free, that was probably one of the weakest ones. Pick up sneezing next, a very standard lineup, but then we're going to go for things like paralysis and even coma. Surprisingly early here with following the cysts and the hypersensitivity route. Why? Well, again, I'm not that worried about whether or not we're going to have too much severity to get into places like Greenland, so I figure let's just go ahead and go ham, get some of this early severity, get lots of extra DNA points, also start slowing down the cure kind of preemptively. Doesn't seem like a horrible idea. So I'll pick up the paralysis, that's fine. Could also go for things like the pneumonia as well, sure, why not? But then, oh, maybe I don't want systemic infection, that's a bit much. We might devolve that one. Lethality isn't something I'm necessarily going for yet, but we'll see. I do need to get some air transmission. I need to get a lot of different things. Let's go ahead and devolve that systemic infection. Going for the paralysis was fine. Going for coma, also fine. But lethality symptoms, not as excited about that. Vaccinations are rising in Madagascar. Oh, fun, okay. Well, let's go ahead and grab things like some air transmission for a moment. We'll get coma and such in a little bit, but I do want to start getting out of this country and get a halfway decent spread. So we'll go for one level of air and water just to make that a little bit easier. Hemophilia mutated, not a big deal, who really cares? So what do I need to get coma? 21 DNA because the genetic drift has not really kicked in as of yet, so this is an easy thing for us to do. And then we're kind of hoping the mutations aren't going to get us too much lethality early on, but this is a very solid amount of early game severity, which is going to make things pretty good as far as some DNA generation. I'll go ahead and grab a level of bird so we can get some early land transmission, plus I'll get some level of livestock so we can spread a little bit faster in a few other places. Though Russia is not as important as it usually would be. I'll go for an extra level of the air transmission to spread faster in some arid areas. What islands are we missing right now? See, here's one thing that always confused me with this scenario. I don't love that because there's a vaccinated status, every single world shows as if it's been infected when I know for a fact it has not. So Canada, for example, has an almost perfect vaccination record, and yet it's not infected, but it's not showing on this list. It's very easy to miss an island, and you need to be cautious about that. Now, something just happened that's interesting. We got an ability up over here. This is going to cost us DNA. Doesn't really tell us how much up front, but it's going to cost us DNA, and what it's going to do is start reducing the vaccination rate in certain countries. So I'll be able to use that. I also just got an anti-vax convention, which means I can go to any country I want in the world. that would include Greenland. So we'll just go ahead and do that. Insomnia just mutated. That's fun. Oh, look at all the people spreading their filthy, filthy diseases. Absolutely horrendous. How dare you people do things like that? Let's go ahead and grab a couple levels of the cold resistance, plus we'll get some of the drug resistance. Still need a lot of the basics. Vaccination rate is high in Japan. Yeah, duly noted. I'm going to go ahead and use my ability here in Canada so we can start trying to reduce that rate. Notice it's now dropping. It was rising, but now it's dropping a lot faster. We're going to have to do this in a few places, like the USA, like in China, a few places in Europe. We might have to do it in Japan, too, since it certainly acted like that might be a problem. Let's go for some drug resistance. Again, the vaccination rate is naturally going to be falling most places in the world, but you gotta be cautious. And this is one thing where it gets tricky with this scenario, because I don't know which country is currently the most vaccinated. I wish there was an extra column here so I could easily see, hey, where might I want to make use of this ability, like in the US again, because this is still way too freaking high. You get the idea. I'm going to grab a couple levels of the genetic hardening just to slow down the cure, because buying some time is probably the safest thing that we can do. I'll also go ahead and grab, let's say, some seizures and insanity. That also slows down the cure a little bit more. A new ability is available, Anti-Vax Capital. Control the narrative, designate an anti-vax capital to reject the vaccine in a target country, and then spread that to new countries. So we can do this only in a handful of different places, and I don't know what exactly is the trigger for where we're able to place this, because like you'll notice there's a lot of places over here in, let's say, Europe that's not able to do it. USA is not able to do it. So it seems like it has to be there's more infected than vaccinated, or maybe like just a minority of the population is vaccinated. No, because then Angola would be an option. So I don't know. I don't know what causes that. I'll go ahead and start by placing this in Mexico, because that's going to help me start reducing the vaccination rate in places like the US. I'll also do one, let's say, in the Balkan states to spread that a little bit more in Europe. And I'll do that in let's say Southeast Asia, so we can spread this naturally in places like China as well. Over time, they'll also just start spreading free capitals around the world, but that is entirely random. You have no idea what you're going to expect there. Let's continue trying to put some propaganda in places like Canada, and it looks like Poland, since the infection rates are very low there. Anywhere else I'm worried about? I mean, places like Australia is bad, but yeah. We are starting to kill, as you'll notice, so with most of the world infected, most of the world can die. We're going to start generating a lot of DNA. This is where you might think you want to go for things like total organ failure, and you could, but again, like, that's a little bit on the risky side. Are you sure that's what you want to do? Are you sure about that, right? Because you might end up finding that you're killing faster than you can burn down the vaccination rate. So mutation chance might honestly be kind of your best friend here. And what you should do is just save your points to, 1, make sure you get into any country you didn't infect, and then 2, make sure that you just start reducing the vaccination rate in a few key places. Looks like Spain and France are holding fairly strong, but they are burning down Germany and such. Yeah. Still comes down mostly to places like Canada. Australia's looking pretty good. New Zealand's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and reduce that there. I think it gets progressively more and more expensive to use the ability. I might be wrong on that. I have not exactly been paying attention to it, but it would make sense to me if that were the case. Still need to do that in Canada. Just keep burning down that vaccination route. They're trying to raise the rates. They're trying. I can't place down any more capitals. Now, again, this is where, like, why can't I place down another capital? What is the trigger for what nation is able to do this? I don't know the answer, but I'm just not allowed. Okay, so I'm looking around here, just looking to see how many vaccinated, 368 million there, 58 million there. Let's do one in China, just trying to speed that up a little bit. Cure progress is up to 67%. We did get a free anti-vax capital in the USA. That's actually phenomenal, because that gets rid of the entire thing. We got another one for free in Canada, and we got another one for free in Italy. Well, thank you so much. That's beautiful. Let's go ahead and get some genetic reshuffles, just try to buy us down a little bit of that cure progress. Where are people still alive? There's a lot of countries with people still alive, mainly because the last line of defense with the vaccinated is still hanging around. So I don't have to worry at all anymore about places like Canada. So I think it's just a quick check. Are there any other countries that are really causing issues? I mean, New Zealand maybe a little bit. China still a little bit. I'll go ahead and do another thing there. I'll do one in New Zealand for the heck of it. Australia's looking good. It sure looks like the vaccinated numbers are falling pretty precipitously, but I hate having to hunt for this. Where are the remaining infected? Is it just in places like China? Now I don't have enough DNA to do this anymore, so we're kind of stuck. I've spent everything that I've got here. It is going to have to be what it's going to be. Let's hope we don't kill too fast. And that's why I didn't get the total organ failure. Now, you could go for the total organ failure and then just, like, go ahead and just devolve it when it gets a little bit too close to the end. That might be better to save a little bit of score, maybe, but I don't know. Anyway, the vaccination numbers have officially finally collapsed, and they are abandoning the cure entirely. There's nothing left to stop the disease. With everyone fully infected, with necrosis and everything else going for us, we're gonna get them all killed. This is where I wish I had the total organ failure, but if you want a safer route to beat this on Mega Brutal, then this is kind of the route that I would recommend. If you want to go for maximum score, you're going to have to take some risks. I don't see a way around that in this scenario, or you can play something a little bit easier and more consistent to get a really good score. Again, like the Nanovirus, it's a pretty good option for you. Could do that, but this is just kind of a generic vanilla strategy that will work for whatever you're trying to do. Norway just executed their infected. Well, there were no one left, so you just all... Okay. Norway just ended itself, but there we go. 559 days. That was a slow run. The last time I tried doing this, I had about 420 days and only 50% cure progress, so I got a higher score. This is still enough to get a 2-star victory, which is okay, but mostly I just want to show off how the mechanics of this work and why it can be tricky. It does depend a lot on things like those capitals. Which nations are resisting you the most? Can you get a decent spread in them early, but how do you burn down that vaccination rate? Capital placement is certainly helpful, but it's not the end-all be-all. You're going to have to just kind of keep running with this for a little while. Anyway, that is that scenario down and out of the way. We only have one left, Zombies versus Earth. And I have been told this one is absolutely brutal, but we are going to find out in the next video. Thank you all very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed and found this helpful in some way. If you did, please consider hitting that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, hit the notify bell, and I will see you guys next time.